to give you a flavor of a little diving on in the harbor. Our dives are a little bit special for most people. And you'll understand from my title, the blue hole and beyond, because we went beyond the blue hole. So my name is Michel Gensini. On my left side is my dive buddy. I don't know if you know him, but he's very well known. He owns the legitimate world record of deep diving. So if you Google, you will see that Armand Geber beat him, but in fact Armand Geber did not do the dive, he cheated. I have some information, some that are public, some that are not public. I'm happy to answer questions if you have, but Armand Geber did not do that dive, he really cheated. And I know personally some of his dive buddies and so on from his team, and everybody dropped him after the dive. But he's the real dude. And I'll talk to him in a minute. What is the record? Say again?
What is the record?
1,044 feet. So there are in fact only three persons went below 1,000 feet and came back alive. He owns the record. The first one was obviously John Bennett, who put the apex line, you know, regulator and so on the line. So he dives Poseidon. My buddy dives Poseidon, I dive apex. So I'm not an instructor, I do extreme diving. Not an instructor, don't do this at home. We are kind of well trained and diving is kind of our stuff. And physiologically it works very well for us. And yeah, don't try this. I just want to share because I know that some of you will go to the hub. And if you have the opportunity to go to the blue hole, do it even if you don't go to the bottom or beyond, right? So, but you're going to have to be prepared, and I'll show you why during the presentation. So first the team. Well, we are a team of two. First, as I say, is Nuno Gomez. He was born in Portugal, lived in South Africa, now lives in New York. He has 3 passports. I go ahead, diver extraordinaire, 1 out of 3, because again, 3 people went below 1,000 feet and came back alive, and he owns the record. He's an instructor, he's a CMAS guy. He owns multi world records, some in the Red Sea, and as a matter of fact, there's a reason also why we stayed in the resort and we used the dive shop that we used, is because 10 years ago, that's the dive shop that he used as well. As a matter of fact, when we walked in the street, we were there for 2.5 weeks or so. It's impossible to walk more than 50 feet before him being stopped to sign autograph and so on, even 10 years ago. It's very interesting. So again, he went to 1,045 feet, 1,044 in the Red Sea, more specifically in the Gulf of Aqaba, which is just across of the Dahab Bay, where I'm sure you guys will stay. And I have pictures, so I will show you. It will be interesting for the people who will discover it live in a few months from now. What he also did was a very interesting dive. Bushman Ghat Cave in South Africa. As most of you know, I'm sure all of you know that when you go in altitude above 300 meters, you have to start correcting for altitude and so on. That cave is at 5,000 feet. He's the only one who went to the bottom, essentially, to bottom, corrected for the altitude. The depth is 1,112 feet equivalent. So the cave itself is 962 feet, but corrected for altitude is 1112. Not bad. And then there is me. So I was born in Belgium. I'm Italian American. I have 2 citizenship. My buddy beats me already. He has 3 passports. I only have 2. I'm a tech diver, advanced trimix. And I'm also a solo diver. I must thank Dave for that. I passed it here in this room, as a matter of fact. I'm also blender, advanced blender. Thank you, Dave, again. I passed the test here as well. I don't have any record dives. Oops. Yeah. So we are working on some on more stuff in the future. I'll talk about it at the end. But I have plenty of deep dabs, obviously. This was not my first deep dab. I'm crazy, but not stupid. For example, Dave mentioned some Florida wreck dives a few minutes ago. I've done plenty of them. I just show, as an example here, RBJ 255, so 255 to 260, whatever. There's the famous two wrecks that are like this, right? Interesting because it's very not easy to find because of the current. And as you know, you check on each other right before going down in the sign. Forget about that. Forget about that one. When the boat drops you, we drop, we reconnect at 130 feet. No, you go head first. You don't have time with the current. Go down to 130 feet. Check, make sure that everybody is bubbling more or less correctly. And then whoop, straight down to 255. If not, you will miss, because of the current, you will miss the rest. I've done Andrea Doria. I have several dives there. Interesting. It's not for everybody. But that was cool. I got invited again to go back. I've done many wrecks within 260 feet and so on. I also do search and body search and rescue and so on. So some of you may know the existence of a mine upstate New York. Goes down to 325. We look for the body of a woman right now. Very complicated dive. We lost one of the team members like 2 years ago.
You do an open circuit or rebreather?
Open circuit. I don't believe in rebreather. And my buddy either, by the way. We only dive open circuit, and I will show how we do it. I have a very low sac rate, and I'm overweight right now, so I have to lose 10 more pounds to go back to my weight. But I don't need a rebreather. I really don't. You will see by my sac rate why I don't need a rebreather.
So who do you do search and rescue? They call you up to go and do search and rescue?
Yes, so we work with the police department of the town of Carmel. Yeah, we are a group of tech divers for that. Yeah. A 4-inch visibility. It means that you want to see your... to get information, you have to bring your dive computer right here. 4-inch visibility. It's an all iron mine. A little bit complicated that, yeah. Temperature, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, so...
That visibility is why we don't dive Lake Nakamixon.
Michel, next time go to move your pictures closer together.
Yeah. No, but we don't, as Jerry Seinfeld would say, we don't pay for the other team, so he's married, but, no, he met his wife in Dahab, as a matter of fact. Yes, me, yeah, but and I realized it when I played the box. That's why you see that, yeah, Photoshop is not my job. So that is the idea. Before we talk about the dives, we must talk about the preparation.
So Michel, you're a team of 2. Would that be your preference, or would you rather have 3 or 4?
That's a very pertinent question. If I dive, I can take any of you down to 130 feet. I really don't care who you are. I will bring you to the surface, guarantee, and you will be breathing. If we go, let's say, down to 300 feet or 330, let's say, to make around another 100 meters, I can probably dive with a few people, selected though. Below 400 feet, I only dive with him. We don't want anybody else. Your question is very pertinent because there have been approximately 50 deaths every year in the Blue Hole, every year. But now the government and the locals, they were a little bit tired of that. So they changed the policy. Below a certain depth, you must have dive support. No ifs and buts, you must. Number 1. Number 2, your deco tanks must be aluminum 80s. So that you have enough reserve or whatever.
Below what depth?
It's probably below like 200, 250.
Okay,
whatever.
so not for the arch.
Say again?
Not for the arch. Not
We're going to talk about the arch. No, but the arch is at 180. The top of the arch is at 180.
The arch is 180.
Top of the arch at 180. And then we're going to talk about the top and the bottom. I have videos here, but I don't have my good cable. So I will only present pictures. If Dave invites me again, I'm happy to show videos of the dive, which is interesting. Because at the bottom, of the blue hole you see remains, you know, the remains, gears of Barbara Dillinger and so on, they are there, I swear, I have it on video. So you have to start thinking about something else when you see the...
Mostly of Russian or Polish origin.
Yeah, there is Yuri Lipsky also, but he filmed his own death, it's on YouTube and so on. So we were supposed to have dive support divers. Guys who would wait for us at 300 feet, let's say, because we go to work. My dive buddy said no. It's only Michel and me. This is it. But they listened to him. It was only, yeah. And in terms, and I will show pictures. In the mine where I do the rescue, I have my deco tanks are aluminum 80s, but my sac rate is so low that I was allowed from day 3 to deco with aluminum 40s. They did not want at the beginning. They said, no, it's aluminum. I said, screw your rules. I'm not, because I carry 7 tanks total, you know. I'm not going to carry these big aluminum 80s. I do it sometimes when I have to, but here I did not. So I decoed with aluminum 40s, with room to spare. You will see my sac rate.
So, but if you had people that you trusted, what would be your preference in terms of team size? 2, 3, 4?
Oh, again, in tech diving, I'd rather have 2 to 3. That's all, no more, because after that we're going to get separated. And I don't want to get separated, although we are all solo divers. So basically the frame of mind is that you are alone, okay? You are alone. It is not unlike an instructor, basically. But I'd rather have no more than 3. I've done it with 4 or 5, we get separated, and then it's no good. It's really not good. I mean, you get separated at 200-300 feet, you can still manage and look around a little bit. But where we were, per minute that we stay down there, we add 10 minutes of deco. Yeah, but you stay 6 minutes, you add an hour of deco. No, it's not funny anymore. You know what I mean? So for us, 2 was nice.
Right. So this is something we preach all the time, especially in our technical programs, is a buddy team is 2 or 3. It is never more than 3. If it's 4, it's 2 teams of 2.
Yeah.
You cannot process everything you need to deal with and keep track of somebody else and worry about somebody else and somebody else. It just doesn't work, and it's just a recipe for disaster here. And nobody wants to be a statistic here. So 2 or 3 is ideal. For those who don't understand technical diving, one of the things that Michel's referring to, these twin 80s, twin 40s, and all this other talk here. When we dive at depths where we can no longer safely return to the surface directly, or we wish to come up quicker than we normally could. Meaning, if you go down, like you go down with a regular aluminum 80 and you stay down and you're following your tables, and you're at 100 feet for 20 minutes, and you know at that point you need to make your ascent and you can come back up. But if you decided to stay 30 minutes, now you have a decompression obligation. You can no longer come directly to the surface because you've got too much nitrogen accumulated in your tissues. So you need to come to an intermediate depth where there's less pressure on the gas from the gas you're breathing. Breathe there for a while. It's nothing magic's happened except basic physiology here. Your blood is circulating, you are degassing, and when you have reduced the amount of gas to the appropriate level, then you can come to an even lesser pressure, the surface. Right? So if you want to hurry that along, then you can do things like breathe gases that expose you to less nitrogen, so that accelerates your nitrogen coming out. That's what accelerated decompression term comes from. And so we typically will do that. We'll carry 1 or 2 or even 3 other gases, increasingly less nitrogen, hence more oxygen, that we can breathe on the way up, and that's going to hurry up this degassing process in our body so that we're not in the water so long. When you've got these long decompression stops, no matter how warm the water is, chilling becomes a factor and you start getting cold. And when you start getting cold, you start getting stupid. And you don't want to stay there, and you want to cut the corners, and you want to get up there, and your circulatory system is not the same because it's shutting down because your limbs are cold. so you're not degassing the way you're supposed to be degassing. So accelerated decompression has a lot of benefits to it. So when we do our dive, we typically will take a gas that's suitable to dive with on the bottom, and unless it's a really extreme mix, we will be able to start our dive with that, roll off the boat or walk in from shore, and go all the way down to our dive, whether it's 200 or 300 feet or 400 feet, whatever it is, and enjoy our dive. And then as we start to ascend, then we'll start switching over to these other gases. Because we're coming up, because it's a open dive site, you have to carry all those bottles with you. So that means you might go in with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bottles of gas to have enough to do your dive and to have all those different gases. And then you have to have the presence of mind to say, okay, it's time to switch to this gas now. Okay, now it's time to switch to this gas now. Change my computer, check my gas, check my buddy, make sure we're all breathing, follow my hose down, make sure it's connected to the right tank, that I'm not doing something stupid here. There's a lot of processing going on. So, Michel's going to show you all that, but I just want to give you a little, just a little overview of the whole technical diving aspect.
Yeah, because I don't want to bore you to death or put you to sleep. So
You label your bottles and you develop. Mark asked a good question. Mark asked a good question. How do you know which gas is which? So you're absolutely anal about labeling, right? So on your cylinders, we mark the mix that's on there and the MOD, the maximum operating depth. And we mark it on the outside so that our buddy can see it. So when we do our gas switch, he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, I'm looking at his hose is going down to that bottle, the right one, right? Because I know how deep we are. So there's a lot of discipline that way. A lot of times we'll mark it right on our regulator as well.
And you both should be breathing the same gas at the same time.
If you're not, then the dive becomes way complicated.
Which is what happened here, by the way. We were not, I'll come back to it, yeah.
But yes, that's what you want to do, because in the event of any sort of a failure, and I've had it happen on multiple dives, where we've had regulator failures or tank valve failures or whatnot, then you need to share gas. You want to be able to share with somebody else, and you want to be on the same dive plan. And so if I've got a different gas and you can't breathe it now, but I have to stay here and breathe this gas, but you can't, and now you're getting more of a decompression obligation because you're hanging out with me breathing that other gas from the bottom here, right? So you don't want to do that.
So you have your answer 2 to 3. Dave and I are in agreement. So we never go 4. You will get separated at 4. I'm glad we agree, Dave. 4 you will be separated. That's a fact of life. Been there, done that. That's not cool. Diving is cool. We all enjoy diving. That's why we are here. Awesome. We will go back again. That's fantastic. I can tell you I'll go back. I can go tomorrow to 300 feet with my eyes closed. For the dive that I'm going to talk about, it's totally different. It's a different world. For this deep dive, the preparation is key. It's exactly if you are painting, let's say a car, a wall or whatever. You spend 95% of your time prepping the surface, 5% of your time only painting, correct? Fantastic. Same thing here. The way I see it, and trust me, I live these things. There are 3 levels of preparation. Physical, mental, and diving as well. Okay? And then we're going to go very quickly to the 3 of them. I will share with you what I did to prepare these dives, so it's not science fiction or whatever. And by the way, all are important. Do not skip any of this. Do not let your ego kill you, take home message. It's very important. Train, 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 and train. Even if you think you are bored, do not get complacent. Complacency will kill you even at 20 feet, I can tell you that. It took me 7 months to prepare for the dive that I'm going to talk about today. 7 months. Every day I worked on it. Every day for 7 months. I did different things every day. I will show that to you. Preparation, first physical diet. Eat healthy. Okay, I had no fast food for 7 months. Drink plenty of water. I drink like 3 liters of water every day. I did not drink alcohol for 7 months. I don't recommend it. Well, I don't care, I'm divorced now, but really, so, no, but I did it. And then I did it because I don't want to go into too much details, but you have learned obviously that one of the reasons why some of you go from scuba diver to advanced diver, then you can breathe nitrox and so on. It's because so you can change the amount of, reduce the amount of nitrogen, right? Because nitrogen dissolves in your tissue and so on and blah blah blah. So, and it's not so good. Helium is worse. And so I wanted also to eliminate fat and so on. And so I did exercise. So what I did was this: running 7 to 8 miles twice a week. Also twice a week I alternate with biking, 20 to 25 miles. I always work at 100% of what I can do that day. Some days I'm a normal guy, but some days I'm a little bit tired or whatever, I don't care. I'll still go out, rain or shine, I don't care. I will work out at 100% of what I can do that day. And some days I know that I'm slow, too bad, I still go out. And I dived. I was able to, I had an understanding boss at work last year, and I could spread my vacations so that every Friday I was at Dutch, plus Saturday, plus Sunday. And some of you were there. There is a car that's 95 feet. Some people call it a Barracuda or a Chevelle. It was a red buoy. That was our buoy there with a line. And then rest. You need to sleep also. Resting is also important. You will see that it has a big impact also for the technical diving and depth diving, especially if you go to the hub. Rest might be challenging depending on where you are, where you sleep, and so on. I'll touch on that later. Hey, with that, I lost 34 pounds, so now I'm a little bit overweight, but that's okay. I'm working on it to go back to my diving weight because we are preparing for the next dive. And my sac rate, where's the gentleman? Oh, 0.159, try that.
Cubic feet?
Per minute, yeah.
It's
Oh
crazy.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I insist on the 9 because finally. Oh, and it was in the hole at Dutch at 45 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the cold water with
Wow.
my dry suit and so on. I'm that low now.
That's really low.
This is how I can deco from below 400 feet with aluminum 40
Yeah.
with the and I use half of the tank only. That's all I will show them.
What's your sac rate? 0.159?
0.159.
So just as a reference here, most divers that once they get past any anxiety, not that every new diver has anxiety, but most new divers have a sac rate of about 0.75. That's how many cubic feet of air per minute you're using. So 0.75. When we train for technical diving, we train for 0.5, but we plan for 0.6. So that, and all those numbers factor back in as to how big a tank you need to take on this dive, because that's how much gas you're going to burn through, right? So when you're burning through 1/5 of what, or 1/4 of what the next guy's doing here, you could be down there with tiny little tanks there and looking good, while everyone else is humping water heaters of cylinders with them.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. So I am not like Alex Volcano, some deep divers on, that go deep on one breath. But for a scuba diver, it's not bad. I don't know anybody of my fellow divers or instructors who approach that.
Well, that's not a working part of the dive at all, just kind of going down and coming back, right?
Yeah, that's correct. But if I work hard, I am never below 0.4. I have not been at 0.4 since ages. Yeah. But I work on it. Again, diet, exercise, yoga, and so on. I was not born that way. When I started to dive, I was around 0.5, 0.6. So maybe diving is good for me. Let's continue. Then I dropped very quickly to 0.4, like working hard. And yeah, that's my deco sac rate, which is good for this dive, obviously, because as Dave mentioned, it has a major impact on how much stuff we carry, right? Because if you dive for half an hour, 45 minutes, that's cool. If you dive for 3.5 hours, that's a different story. Then what you carry with you is very important. And then the mental preparation is very critical. Very, very critical. So I do some yoga. It's good for the breathing and good for the focus as well. Because when you are down there in the dark, it's cold and lonely. And you still have to be fairly awake, right? Just if you'd had a leak, as they mentioned, maybe a rag or a hose or whatever, you need to be fully prepared and react quickly. You don't have time to think. At these depths, you don't have time to think. So you have to be mentally prepared. And so you meditate, sorry for the misspelling, and find a role model. For me, it was really important to find a role model. I find 2 role models, and they are not divers. They are very famous, but they are not divers, obviously. They are all climbers, right? Alex Honnold and Nims. Trust me, I could not climb on a rock. I'm afraid of height. However, if you follow Nims, and there are so many YouTube videos about him that go beyond the next league, 14 peaks and so on, and I kind of see myself in him, although I will never be comparatively at his level, and this is fine. But since that he went through the thing that he felt very comfortable with while climbing, I felt myself the same way while diving. Some of my buddy divers, they were affected by depths or whatever. Never found that. Apparently I was made for that, like he was made for climbing. Alex Honnold is a little bit different, because if you do not have fear, I won't dive with you. That's a fact of life. You have to have a decent amount of fear while you are diving. Don't let fear drive you, but when you do these extreme dives, you have to have some fear, because if not, you will get complacent, and as I said earlier, complacency will kill you. Don't do that. So you need to have a respect for what you are doing and understand the risks and so on. So you need, I would say, a good dose of fear, not too much, not too little. And so this is why, for me, to have role models. And again, they are climbers. They have nothing to do with diving. And it's not the point. The point is their approach, and learn from these guys. Okay? And what I learned from them is that fear management from Alex Honnold, and everything is possible from this. Very important. Okay, in terms of prep, Dave mentioned about the signs and all the writings that we put. So this is the gears that I use here when I dive, whatever. I do plenty of wreck diving of the ocean as well, of New Jersey and so on, or Florida and places. I really like wreck diving. So this is my thing. So everything is very well labeled. You only see one side here, but on the other side, it has signage also for myself. So these ones are the signs for my dive buddy, so that he can read. He makes sure MMG, it's me. Maurice is my middle name, so MMG, it's me. D Comics, I have the MOD, so maximum operating depths and all these things, all the information. I write also the depth there in feet on top, and also on the other side as well. So that there is no confusion possible. You ask a question, when do you need to switch? I have my computers. I have 2 computers, plus I have notes as well. So if my computer goes, I have my wet notes, and all my dives are there. Not only are my dives there, the plan B, plan C, plan D dives are there as well. What about if I go 5 feet deeper than what I have planned? What about if my buddy needs help, or I get lost or whatever, and I spend a few more minutes there? So I have all these contingency plans always in my right pocket, with the wet notes. Okay?
What computers do you use?
I use the Purlist.
Sure.
Yeah. I have 2 of them. So why do we do that? There is something that I claim, some people find that funny. You don't have to go deep in order to go deep. But at some point it's nice. Hey, I hope I can go with you one of these days there. It's nice to be able to get to train in the 250 range once in a while, right? To get acquainted with that. But most of our training were done at Dutch. What was important? Communication, in that case, underwater. Communication is really important. Why is that? As I mentioned earlier, I came from PADI/TBI/SSI. I have certifications in all three. My buddy is CMAS. He doesn't do the same thing as I do. We train, we dive together since 5 years, so we know each other very well. Communication is really important because if you have an emergency down there, it's not time to start communicating with someone. You'd better know exactly where to communicate, when, at which frequency. Does your dive buddy look for you where you are and so on, you know, like every minute, every 30 seconds? Practice this. Make sure that you are comfortable. Make sure your dive buddy is comfortable as well with your communication style. It's really, really important. If you dive at 130 feet, I'll come back to the surface in one breath, I have no problem. For what we do, communication is important. How we communicate and the one as well, obviously. Safety procedures. They're a little bit different for tech diving, a little bit more complex because we have more tanks and we carry more stuff. But it's important to practice them. You don't have to think about it. It has muscle reflex. It has to become a reflex. At those depths, you don't have time to think. I repeat myself, but it's really important. Dive planning. We simulate the depths. Although at Dutch, you can only go to approximately 105 feet, whatever the bottom of the hole. That's it. That's a fact of life. But we can still simulate that. It's nice to go there on Sunday afternoon when people have silted the whole thing. So that's why we go, to be in the dark, no joke. So to practice there. Navigation, we navigate because we were planning to navigate at the bottom of the blue hole. I will show that to you. Also, synchronization is really important. Dave mentioned breathing the same gas is important. Going down, and we had a line. We were not always on the line, but we had a line to go down, then we swim away from the line. But synchronization is really important. Going up, going down. Do not get separated. It's not cool to find yourself alone like that in the dark. So the synchronization, we practiced this at Dutch also over around 100 feet, going up and down, like synchronized, like I can plan my going up the 100 feet within 2 seconds like a clock. Very important. Question, wetsuit or dry suit? Depends on you, but if your dive is very long, you will get cold. If you breathe, try mix because of the helium. Helium makes you cold like there's no tomorrow. My dive buddy dives wetsuit, and I've tried, I swear I've tried. I've tried. And the water was 75 degrees there. So I was at Dutch, and even in the summer, last summer, I was there with my 7 mil, and I had another liner on them. And I could dive no problem, but the deco, I don't have enough fat to keep me warm. So it means that I had to drive dry suit. Dry suit, and so I have an additional tank right filled with air to inflate the dry suit. So that's tank number 7 for me. So deco tank, I spoke about it. My dive buddy decos with aluminum 80s, the one that you are familiar with. As I said, I deco with the aluminum 40s, plenty enough for me. We also use the spring to test the different configuration and the different material. Because we have different kind of reels, because we will leave the line when we are down there. So there's no need to be a hero, we use a reel. Lights. There are different kind of lights, especially for the depths where we are going at. Strobe as well. So we leave typically a strobe or two on the line and when we swim away. We also have helmets with light and also a camera. It's nice because you have your hands free. Also we have additional lights because redundancy is really key on reel, lights and so on. Okay? Redundancy is important. Whether it's recreational diving or tech diving, obviously. You do a night dive, you guys never do a night dive with a single light, right? Same thing for us. Same principle. Although we carry maybe 4 lights or 5. Because we are gone for a while, so just in case. And then, once you have done this, it was terrible. It's repeat, repeat, repeat. When we're going down the lines, an entire day on a Sunday, I asked my buddy, what are we going to do next Sunday? Same thing. He said, oh, crap. 3 weeks in a row like this. And then after we change, we do navigation. The way we do navigation is a little bit special. You've all been at Dutch, I assume, right? Yeah. Most of you. So we do, when we drop, so we drop along a line, we leave our deco tanks behind, and then after we go navigation. The trick is, find your tanks back, because you will have to deco. So you will need your 100%, your pure oxygen tank, who's waiting for you somewhere, better find her somewhere. So we practice very serious navigation. And again, repeat, repeat, repeat. Do not get complacent. And I really don't care at what depth you are diving. Whether you dive at 60 feet or over 400 feet, never get complacent. That's the only thing. If you have to remember something, that is it. Do not get complacent. Enjoy your dive, but don't get complacent. So the trip itself now, finally. So we left just after Thanksgiving. We left from Newark, we went via Geneva, landed in Sharm el Sheikh. So it's at the bottom there of the Gulf of Aqaba. We stayed at Planet Oasis because he stayed there when he went for his dive records. So we stayed there. The dive shop is Planet Diver. It's nice because they have helium, so they make the Trimex. And they make it custom for us every day, which is really nice, based on the depths that we plan to reach on that day. And a few pictures of the blue hole now, for the people, for the lucky divers who will go there later this year. So the blue hole is just there, so you literally walk to the blue hole. So it is not like the Belize blue hole and so on, where you have to take a boat. Here, it's really great, in terms of dive support and so on. You drive, you park your car there, put your tanks, walk into the blue hole. Cool. So you know you will dive the blue hole. Belize is not sure. But Dahab, you know you can dive the blue hole if you elect to. So here the picture is taken from the mountain. If you want, you have to pay a fee, whatever. There is a viewpoint there, you can climb there, you can walk, there's a small trail that brings you to where this picture was taken. So there are several, so the entrance is over here. This portion is called the saddle, and based on the tide, well, it's easy to swim over it, obviously. But the blue hole has an indentation like this. It's called the saddle. I will show you where the arch is, the famous arch. In fact, the arch is under, obviously, but at an angle here. But I have other pictures. So that's another view of the blue hole. Here, this is the road that comes from Dahab. So Dahab is approximately 20 minutes drive that way. And then you follow, there is a small road that follows the bottom of the mountain there. Yeah. And before then, there is a famous dive site called the Canyon as well. Maybe more for tech diving. So on this cartoon, you have a top view, if I may say, of what the blue hole is. So you will come from here, from Dahab. Oops. You park your car over there, and then you literally walk in the water. There are a few steps, and then here you find yourself in the blue hole, piece of cake. The saddle is here, this one is there. The famous arch is now here. Here, this is the Gulf of Aqaba. Across from you is Saudi Arabia. So it's important, if you elect to do a dive outside of the blue hole, which we eventually did, you'll see that in a few slides. It's important to be aware of the current and the wind that blows that day, especially if you guys do a deco dive. Why is that? Because if the wind blows the wrong way, you can find yourself in Arabia. And I don't dive with, I don't take my passport with me when I deco. No, but in 3.5 hours of deco, you can be in Arabia, which is not so cool. It's not the goal of the day, at least. So this is the famous arch. The arch is approximately 85 feet long. This is why some people die there. They underestimate the time needed to get out, because the trick is to drop from here, go through the arch, and then resurface from the Gulf of Aqaba. William Trubridge did it on one breath, obviously, but he's special. This is so the entrance where you park the car, and then you leave all your tanks there, and so on. You put basically a piece of tarp, and then you can leave all your stuff there. People don't see.
One of the things he left out was as you're driving up along this winding mountain, this road all along the shore, all the young people use your pickup truck as their local buses. And so as you're driving along, they're jumping on the back of your truck and going a mile down the road or wherever to where they need to be and jumping off, and just nothing you can do about it. You just smile and wave, and you don't understand each other, but
But they're really travel too when they jump off. It's amazing.
yeah, the truck driver doesn't slow down.
So here, this is a view, if you want, from the outside, a cut, with a cut in the wall. And the dimensions are in meters, but sorry about that. So here you enter from there. This is the saddle. Then you go down. The top of the arch is at 180 feet. And I have videos of the time, so maybe next time if I'm invited again, you'll see some videos. And the bottom is at around 300 feet. But we can go below that because it's only 300 feet, so we can go below. And it's open, right? So the arch is open. So I'll show you. Okay, so these were our Dahab dive. First, the schedule. I must say that on my own, I would have never done that by myself. It's because of my dive buddy, and I followed his method. What I'm going to show you here, please don't do that. It goes way beyond the books. It's not serious. But it is very serious. It's maybe too serious. So, but I want to share things with you because I share. And I have no problem sharing. Just don't do what we do, and that's me. Everything here again is very important. So I'm going to share the schedule with you. For a few days before the Blue Hole itself, we did the house reef just off the hotel. And it's very nice because it's very safe. It's sand. And then it goes down step by step like this, down to 250 feet there. No worries. The reefs there are not pretty. There are some nice reefs on the left side of the hub, extreme left. But for us, we were just training for that. So we did not go there for the reef. And then we did the Blue Hole itself, and then we went beyond the Blue Hole. So quickly the schedule. The first day of diving, day 1 to day 3, we did 2 dives a day. Day 4, day 5, 1 dive a day. Then the rest day. And you will understand why in a minute. Then day 7 was the Blue Hole, 1 dive obviously at those depths. Then rest day, it was really necessary. And then when I'm in rest day, I go back to bed, I don't do anything. Because I don't care to go in a deco chamber. And knock on wood, never been in a deco chamber, so I don't need to start. So the rest day are also important. Because your body keeps degassing, okay? Dave mentioned earlier the nitrogen, there's also the helium. So although your computer will tell you that you are okay, it is not, no hot shower, that's for sure. No extra curricular activities also and so on. Rest, then you can go to deep dive again because we are really always at the limit with what we do. Then we went day 9, we went beyond the Blue Hole, another rest day, and then after we did some fun dives, and then after the rest day before flying back to the US. So that's for the schedule.
Do you have to give yourself more time before you fly to
Yes, so that's a very pertinent question. So usually it's what, 18 to 24 hours, right? Yeah, with our dive we stay 2.5 days. Yeah. So,
Just to make sure.
yeah, no, with the helium we accumulated 2.5 days. Here this is the bay of the harbor. Again, it's very convenient and very safe. Safe because again, the shape of the reef is like this, it's really like steps. See? And there are some big animals, like there's an elephant, there is a rabbit on the right side, there is a chair there. No, full-size elephant, but you know, made of stuff, whatever. But they try to entertain the divers because there's only sand over there. But it's very safe. Nice slope, gentle slope. You start from the surface, you go to 250. It's okay. That's the view from our hotel of the bay. Here's another view. Why is it convenient? Because where we stayed at the hotel / dive shop, which is just here because the picture is taken from the terrace here of the hotel, they will carry your tank to the water. That's fantastic. Why did we do this? And again, I do not recommend it. Please don't do what I do. I don't. We did it to get acquainted with depth on air. As you may know, when you dive on air, your limit is 165 feet. Fine.
What VO2 are you using?
Say again?
What partial pressure box are you using? 165 feet?
1.4.
Yes, we're at 140.
187.
Yeah, no, you can, but Paddy and so on, you can go to 185, whatever, but you'll see what we do. So we go beyond that.
1.5 then.
But from Paddy is 165, I think, something like that, or 185. But whatever, we go much deeper. I don't care
187
about
is
that.
1.4, 216 is 1.7.
Okay.
But what, our bottom guys, for that first 10 days or whatever, air. And then we carry one aluminum 40, pure oxygen for deco, this is it.
So one of the benefits as far as his training on these deep dives on air is exposing his body to the effects of narcosis, because he's got these high nitrogen loads and that affects your mind chemically. So again, preparing him to dive deeper even with other mixes, still having that high nitrogen loading ultimately at the depth there to not lose his sense of focus.
Yeah, because if you start seeing pink elephant playing drums, it's time to come up basically. And this is why this is really important to, as Dave mentioned, so thank you for underlining it, but get acquainted with depth. And by the way, at the depths we go on air, I simulate safety, I practice my safety drills down there. You will see at which depth. I don't go to the end of it obviously, but I start and then just to make sure that I am, and I do some calculations on purpose. I can calculate an integral at 250 feet, I have no problem. No, I really do, by the way, I like numbers. My background is nuclear physics, I've done quite a bit of math in my life before, no joke. On the first day was an easy day. Our dives were between 160 and 200 feet on air. Again, don't do that. With 60 minutes surface interval also. Then it gets more serious. After day 2, we dive 2 to 240. But now our surface interval is only 30 minutes.
I mean, that's like one continuous dive. The surface interval is almost non-existent as far as degassing is concerned.
And this is why we need it one day before going to the blue hole. And then post blue hole, we just had fun dives between 130 and 200 also on air. Now the blue hole itself. So as I mentioned, the blue hole, so over here it's like 300 feet, but we wanted 100 meters because again, my buddy being from Portugal, he counts in meters, and we like round numbers. And so it's possible to find 330 feet. You just need to go to go under the arch, right? And after the arch, be careful because there is a wall. We'll get there 2 days later. And then we get 330 feet right there, okay?
Oh, and
No, the arch is
Yeah, the blue hole's not 330 feet deep.
It's 300 feet. It's
It's
almost 300 feet. If you are over there, this is the deepest point, is right there. When you are there, the bottom of the blue hole is a V. A V shape like this, and then you have the arch. But at the bottom of the V is 300. So we went under the arch to get 330 on that day. And then we had a line in the middle of the hole that we left, and we left a strobe, and then we just swam down. Oops, and came back to the line. It's nice to
There's a
have.
permanent line there for free divers who practice.
Oh, but we bought our line. I bought a line here. The line is, it cost me 968 bucks. No, it's like 3/8 of an inch, and I put some rings and so on, and I calibrated the length and so on before. Took me 3 weeks at Dutch to do that. I still have the ring, but no, the line is too short for our next dive. That's a different story. I will not go through this because it involves trimix, and unless some of you have questions, I'm happy to entertain, but special. No. And so basically it was trimix. You see here for the people who are interested, who will eventually go to tech diving. I dove with 1360s, means that I have. So when you dive with air, it's 21%, right? In mine, I have only 30%, 13% oxygen, 60% of helium. And I can tell you that you read in the books, oh, when you dive with helium, you will get cold. Holy cow! I had a dry suit. I have a DUI dry suit, and their thick garment, undergarment, the 450. Breathing this for 3 hours, I was freezing even in the truck. Bringing us back to Daha, I was still like that. I was freezing, breathing that helium.
Yeah, helium has an extremely high coefficient of heat, and so for conductivity, and it really carries your heat. So every breath you take out, it's a tremendous number of BTUs that you are putting out in your bubbles that your body has to replace. That's why we never use, if you have helium in your back gas, your tanks on your back, we never run a hose from that to fill our dry suit, because if you put helium in to fill your dry suit, you just might as well pack it with ice. It's amazing how cold it gets.
Will be cold. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you paid attention, but I won't go back to these slides, but on my deco tanks, on the Rex, from the first stage, I have an additional hose in case if I have to inflate my wing, because we don't have a BC, right? We have with the wing. In case if I have to inflate my wing or my dry suit, but I never connect these on a tank, even on a deco tank that contains any helium, because I will freeze to death. It's not the goal. So it means that the additional hose is either connected to a nitrox, mostly it's to a nitrox, air or nitrox, whatever I carry, but typically I don't deco on it, because it takes too much time and so on. You were mentioning the 1.4 before, so you see here I'm at 330 feet at 1.39, we are cool. I'm not going to go through these details. That's more for tech diving, but it's fairly aggressive, but my body handles it, so I continue that way.
So you don't do the deep steps?
That's a very pertinent question. I like your question. Okay, my tech dive instructors, and my buddy who also is an instructor, I asked all the same, no, we don't do deep stuff. They don't teach it, they say, no, don't do it. But I can tell you that when we go up, he observes it, so because we don't want to get separated, I observe it too.
Well, because the 30, 85, that kind of gets rid of some of the deep steps.
Yeah, but no, he does it, so I do it as well. So you see here, so basically the deco zone starts at 230 feet, which is fairly deep already. But then we still stop at the middle. We still stop at the middle for like a minute or two, but whatever. We can look at fish or whatever. You see here that although I dove with an aluminum 40, I decode with aluminum 40, I still have 26, I only use 14 there, 22 and then 38, plenty enough. Piece of cake. You just don't breathe too much, that's the trick. So I put information about the arch, but you already know that.
So you're not doing double
Right, done.
Nobody? No, I cannot carry 14 tanks, no. No.
Well, he doesn't need to.
I don't need
No,
to.
if the buddy,
Right, too.
Right, the consideration there though, right, is gas sharing. So
Right.
even though you're a phenomenal breather and you've really worked on that, attended every yoga class and you know all the poses, and your focus is tremendous, and you can get away with a little 19 cubic foot cylinder, your buddy is a huffer. And so in the event that you need to share gas from that cylinder with your buddy, you need to match their requirements. So you end up carrying a significantly larger cylinder than you need because of them. It's the same thing if you're diving with a rebreather and you don't need any extra gas, but your buddy's on open circuit, you need to carry the spare gas for them, just as they're carrying it for you. Again,
That's
it
right.
all goes back into the whole gas matching.
I must say that we had a line, as I mentioned before, we had a line and I had D-rings. For the first 100 feet I have D-rings every 10 feet, just in case we need to clip something. From 100 to 330 feet it's every 20 feet. And then after that I have 1 or 2. So my buddy, who is also kind of a Sherpa, part-time Sherpa, he also put additional tanks along the line. Okay. So, but we did not carry it, it was on the line. So we had reserve along the line,
Emergency supply.
emergency supply. So yeah, no, we are not totally stupid. No, but we have a safety factor there with additional tanks along the line. This is why I installed some of these rings. Okay.
Right, but keep in mind that as Michel has pointed out, he does a lot of drift diving, he's done diving in high currents, he's diving on wrecks, where we're not having a permanent line with diver support and all these extra tanks waiting for us. So everything is on you, and that's all got to be taken into the consideration for matching with your team. Then you are complete as a unit to take care of each other.
And here's my gas consumption, you see. So although this one we went on the other side now of the blue hole, right here, we went down to 417 feet. Over there it's 425, and we had a weight. We had some lead weights at the bottom of the line, but we didn't go to the bottom because we didn't want to steer silt. Not something I would suggest at these times. So we limited. We could saw it. We could see our lead weights, but we elected not to go to them because there's no need to
On the
generate.
first time you show, how long did it take you to go through the arch?
Oh no, we swim slowly. Yeah?
No,
We take
but
our time. I don't breathe much. I don't care.
How long?
We went there probably like in 2-3 minutes. Slow. No, we go down fairly fast.
Right.
And as you may know, when you go down, you go down typically at 60 feet per minute, you go back up at 30 feet per minute. We typically don't do that. We go down very fast. As a matter of fact, funny story, I have it on a video. When we go down, outside of the blue hole, there were some open water divers or advanced divers. They were around 130 feet. They were there with horizontal, all in line. Oops, they see the line, they look, and then they see us face down going like this. Then they were excited because we went really fast. When we were really fast. I will not give the rate, but don't do it. We go from 417 feet to 300. We went extremely fast. I will not give you the rates because it's not reasonable. But no, because this is from multi-deco. The rates was not like this. So what we do is this, we went, and I learned from Nuno, because he applies that coming from 1,000 feet. We go much faster to 300 feet. But then after that we slow down. And we even go much slower when we are on pure oxygen there. Okay, even from 10 feet to the surface, we go much, much slower. So by the time we are at 10 feet, we perform our last deco stop for a significant amount of time, because 23 minutes at 10 feet. You have people, they are at the surface, because as Dave mentioned, there are some free divers, there are snorkelers and so on. They look at you, they are wondering, what the heck are you doing there, 23 minutes? And some people will come there and they will just look and they wonder, then they get bored and then they leave, right? And then we are there at 10 feet, doing nothing. But I can tell you that your computer will tell you that you are clear, you are deco clear, straight to the surface. We go extremely slow for the last 10 feet, I can tell you that. Because this is where the delta pressure, as we all know, is the greatest. You see, so careful, very careful.
Do you prefer the last stop at 10 feet rather than 20? There weren't much waves?
It depends. No, there's no waves there in the blue hole, there's no waves. When I did Andrea Doria, I planned my last deco at 30 feet. Yeah, because even when the boat drops you, you're in the middle of the ocean, you are 14 hours away from land. The boat drops you there is a line, that's fine, everything is cool. The weather can change so quickly in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. You can have 20-foot wave, you can have fog, we've had everything, trust me, through my dive there. So, if you plan, it depends on the condition. Okay, so situation awareness is really critical when you dive, guys. You really have to think, is there going to be current, is it going to be cold, dark, whatever? Is there potential for waves, for current changing and so on? If you dive Andrea Doria and if you plan your last deco at 10 feet or at 20 feet, I'm not diving with you, I can tell you it's suicidal. My last deco, instead of decoing with 100%, it was at 70%. And I planned my last deco at 30 feet. If everything is cool, if the boat is not moving, also there is a line, right, on the boat where you can have a grip and so on. If the weather is cool, fantastic, I'll do my 30, then I'll do 20, then a 10, awesome. I'd rather do that. But I plan for the worst, because if the weather changes, oops, what are you going to do? You cannot go to the surface, you will die, for sure. It's death, that is a fact of life. No pun intended, but you will die, so it's not cool. So you have to be very mindful of the diving conditions, not only at the beginning of your dive, but what can they be, how can they evolve by the time you come up at the end of your deco, okay?
And keep in mind also, when you're hanging at a deco stop at 20 feet, and there's a 15-foot wave over you, and if you're watching your computer, suddenly you're at 35 feet, right? And then you're back at 20 feet, and you're back at 35 feet, right? So you're violating all your rules here with regards to toxicity and everything that goes with that. So you really need to take the weather into consideration.
And current and everything. And the water temperature, because if you are cold, you will not be able to think, trust me. You cannot be cold. Don't expect to be able to think and be mentally alert if you are cold. Ain't happening. Yeah, so some pictures here. This is when so we were able to get like two jerry cans, whatever, and these were our buoys, and then the line was attached to that. So that's the picture there.
What time of year was this?
It was end of November, beginning of December.
That's why it's so cold.
No, it was 75, but I don't have fat, so I get cold. Plus,
But in the summer it would be warmer.
Yeah. So, so that's from Nuno. It's from one of his record dive. He still uses some of the old VR3s, I'm sure you know. So 127 meters. So sometimes when I talk, I say, hey, we went down to 127. People start laughing, haha, been deeper than you. I say, yeah, you count in feet, I count in meter, buddy. So, 127 meters, that's when we went. And that's the dive profile. So we have a helmet, also it's nice to have lights on each side and in the camera.
Carolyn's.
Parallels, yes. I have both. I have the old one and the Vakina. This one is the Vakina. That's my buddy, you know. So that's the bottom of the blue hole. Again, I have nice videos, but yeah, it's kind of a little bit of dark. Yeah, you see here, 300 and what feet is before we went under the arch. So 301. I said 300 before, sorry, 301, but close enough. What's 1 feet among friends? No, at this depth, really, who cares? This is the arch. View from the inside of the blue hole. So on the other side here in the light blue is the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay? And the tip there is 180 feet. At this time we are at 96 going up, easy, gentle. And the top there is 180.
You can get through the arch at 180 or 185 feet. Or you can go through it closer to 300 feet. So, yeah, it's a tunnel.
And then it's also on the way up, there are people, snorkelers and so on. So, and it's from 97 feet, so the view was pretty cool. It's not like the whole at the springs, right? So that's new now. Again, we stay together, very important. Do not get separated. I've said it before, I repeat myself. That's why we have it together. And his wife doesn't die, so that's good. This is a view from the outside of the blue hole, as I mentioned before, so just outside. And then we are just, that's our line. And it's very monotonous, there's nothing. Below a certain depth, I would say below 300 feet, it's dark, there's nothing. Because light doesn't penetrate much, so there's not much there. But, hey, we did it. So it's coming back closer to the surface, so that's cool. There's the deco tanks and so on. So I have 7 regulators, so choose the right one basically. But don't wait, as Dave mentioned before, so we have procedure to check ourselves, have our body confirm that we are breathing the right thing, because you have 7 regulators right here, pick up the right one, pick the right one.
And
If not, that's not cool. Yes.
Below 100 meters, you have to change the intermediate pressure
Intermediate pressure of what?
on the regulators.
No, not on my apex. I don't touch these things. I touch them. I adjust them myself when I do in cold water, so they don't free flow. But I know how to do it. Okay, don't do that yourself if you are not trained. No, I don't touch them. This is the last thing I want to do is BS with my regulator when I'm down there, because when we go, we go. So to put in perspective, it takes us 6 minutes only to go down to 417 feet. So there's no time to BS around when you are on a mission. And when you go there, even at the first minute, you are 3 hours away from the surface. So no, we don't touch anything. It's not the time. So it's back at the surface after that. Cool. And it's another view there from the hub. For the people who are interested about it, as you may know, one last thing, this is my last slide. There's one more after this, but for the people who know about climbing and so on, who have seen, you know, at the bottom of Mount Everest, there are some plaques for the famous people who died there. Same thing in Dahab. I have it on video. We're going to show it today. For the people who are interested, it is right here. You see all the plaques right here. So Barbara Delinger, Yuri Lipsky, all these guys, you have maybe 20, 30 famous people who died. So they all have their plaques with their name on it. Don't go see it before diving. I went there on my life. No, I went there after the dive, not before. And, oops. I want to thank you for coming. I want first to thank Dave for inviting me. No, because I mentioned that sleeping is really important and eating as well, eating properly. When I was there, my stomach did not agree really with the food. On day 2, I could not digest the food anymore. I could only have 1 meal a day. So, and I used to go to the restroom like 5 times a day. So what I did was that I only had dinner I had dinner and I drank a lot of water. No breakfast, I could not afford breakfast, but not from a money standpoint, but from a digestive standpoint. And so I had water with sugar in it, that was my breakfast. And so I only ate one time a day, once a day, that's it. Which is maybe not recommended for these deep dives. And in terms of sleep, you have to sleep, you have to be rested when you dive. Don't dive when you are tired, it's not good. I don't care what depth you are at. It's really important to be safe. In our hotel, we were the two only English-speaking people. All the rest were Russian and Polish. These guys, they can party, trust me. So every day they partied until midnight. Okay? And
You saying Dahab or Sharm?
in Dahab.
Yeah.
In Dahab. They partied and they were the swimming pool there on the backside of the hotel, so all the room faced that swimming pool. So they were all drinking every night they drink, but at midnight they stop. So you think you can go to sleep, that's fine, you go to sleep. But because they are Muslim, so they have speakers in the corridor of the hotel, and they start the prayer in the morning, at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, so there I was there on one meal a day. I never slept more than 4 hours because the first prayer is at 4:30 and then it wakes you up and they start, I say, what the heck is that thing? I thought it was only in the movies. That hotel had it. So you think you can go to sleep, you can go back to sleep. You go back to sleep at 5:10, second prayer of the day. You cannot go back to sleep after that, I can tell you. So it was like that for 2 weeks and then yet still we managed. So sleep, eat, be safe, have fun. Thank you.